Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation, where we talk about creating financial success with a special focus on business and real estate. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Now, let's get to it. Yeah, I saw an interesting quote forum post on Bigger Pockets. And the author was talking about how when COVID happened, they just started to assume immediately. And so what they did is they did kind of what a lot of people did, is they stopped all renovations right away. They stopped any unnecessary maintenance immediately. They just kind of put the brakes on everything. They just assumed that tenants weren't going to pay rent. They assumed that they couldn't raise rents for potentially for years to come. And they just assumed all this stuff. Come to find out, tenants were paying rent. Tenants were actually demanding or wanting better units. And this poster said that they actually were communicating with some of their tenants and finding out that some of them wanted the upgraded units. Actually, most of them wanted the upgraded units. I think the number they said is 70% wanted the upgraded units for the higher price. We found similar things in our apartments. We assumed that we needed to stop renovations right away, so we did. We assumed that, maintenance and all that kind of stuff needed to stop or be slowed down so we could make it through potentially this time. And so that's what we did. And come to find out, we increased occupancy drastically during that time. And everybody wanted the nicer, better units. They were willing to pay a higher price. And they were willing to pay even higher prices when this pre-COVID happened, or pre-COVID happening, we were charging, in one of our units, $925. Well, now we're charging $975 when we're getting it. No problem. I also had a lot of units that when occupancy was low, we were really cautious about raising rents. So we started to raise rents recently because our occupancy, when after COVID happened, really skyrocketed, quite frankly. And we just didn't slam tenants with rents because we wanted to be respectful. Obviously, times are challenging right now, and some people are being affected of it in a negative way. So what we did is we communicated with their tenants, and that's the point. Are you communicating with your tenants? Are you paying attention, or are you just assuming? So we wanted to raise rents on a lot of units, and what we ended up doing, by the way, about 40, maybe even more units we raised rent on. And some of them by a big margin, some of them by 30% or more. But we actually sat down with the tenants and asked them, how things were going, and communicated them what we wanted to raise our rents to, and asked them what they thought of that. And the only few that said they can't afford it or whatever, we worked with them, and we worked on prices, and we made sure that it's something that the tenant could be okay and happy with, and that also worked for us, because we don't want to put anybody out on the street if we don't have to, of course. We don't want to make anybody move if we don't have to, especially if they're good tenants. So we worked with our tenants, and we made sure everybody was comfortable. But we also made sure that we were getting the rent benefits that we should be getting, rent increases that we should be getting. Some were drastically under market. And so that's been an important factor. Are you communicating with your tenants, or are you just assuming, right? We stopped our renovations. For what reason? Right now, I wish we didn't. Now, good thing, we didn't delay it too long. We only delayed it a few weeks, but we did delay. And our demand is through the roof. We've got all these units pre-leased. So once they're done, we have tenants moving in. Again, we assumed. We didn't communicate. We didn't really do much other than assuming that those things were going to happen. So that goes to more than just dealing with tenants, more than just dealing with your properties. It goes to really anything. Are you communicating with people? Are you communicating with the people you need to communicate? Or are you just assuming and you're listening to kind of what everybody else is doing, what everybody else is saying? And I think that's going to get you a lot farther if you can actually communicate with the real people that you need to communicate with, versus just assuming and just listening to the noise around you. Hey, if you got anything else you want me to cover, let me know. Love to hear from you. If you got any comments, got any questions, let me know. Love to hear from you. Type them in the notes. And if you're listening to this on our podcast, join our Facebook group, Multifamily Mastermind. Join it now. I'd love to have you on. And talk to you soon.